Hello. Hello. Hey, Sierra. Hey, Amy. Hope you guys are doing well. So, I'm actually streaming on Circle, which is the Inner Circle, on YouTube and also Instagram. This is our first live in the Inner Circle, but I wanted to open it up just so people could have a little taster of what they're looking to experience if they join. So, hello. So, I'm saying hello to Amy and Sierra who have joined from the Inner Circle.
On Instagram.
Really, I'm live on Instagram here.
You can find me.
Even if you search my name. Really? Hello. Yeah. So, guys, my DMs are full of people who are desperate for hair growth, who have tried every single product under the sun, who've tried products and prescriptions from dermatologists, and they're still stuck at rock bottom. So I want to be talking to you today about what I think is probably the single most important thing when it comes to a lack of hair growth. And in the Inner Circle, we've covered this in a bit of depth, but I want to just speak on it a bit because this is something that a lot of people just do not know. They don't make the connection between what I'm about to say and hair growth. And it's something that if you miss, your hair, no matter what topicals you put on it, will not grow. Okay? Because your gut, your digestive system is the powerhouse for not just hair growth, but your skin, everything. They call your gut your second brain. This is how important your gut health is to your overall bodily system. This is not only about hair growth, this is about being your better whole self. Okay? Because if your gut is not right, guys, no matter what you're doing, if your digestive system is not right, you will not see hair growth. You can buy every product, you can spend your rent money every single month on hair growth products, and they will not work for you if you're missing your gut health. Okay? So, what is your gut? A lot of people I know don't really understand what your gut actually is. Your gut is basically just your digestive system. This is where your body processes everything you eat into blocks, building blocks that you can actually use to power and fuel all of your bodily functions. So if you can imagine this process of the things that you eat to fuel your body, it being processed into things your body can use is incredibly crucial for every single process of your body. So, if your gut, which is if you just imagine like a sieve, like when you're trying to sieve like spaghetti, or even like you're just trying to like wash rice and you just have like a sieve with really tight mesh. That's what you can imagine your gut to be. And what ultimately happens is when you eat, it goes through your digestive system from your mouth to your stomach, when it gets into your small and large intestines, and then your small and large intestines have this sieve, which basically allows the food to go through, but your body will extract the actual nutrients. But if this gut that a lot of people don't take the time to really understand is compromised, if it is extra leaky, if you have certain and if you have overgrowths of certain bacterias, then this system will not function. And because this is such an important function for the rest of your body, not just hair, you're going to see it in your skin, you're going to see it in your hair, you're going to see it in your overall health. Because how well your body actually absorbs nutrients is ultimately going to be an indicator of how well your hair grows. Okay? Because if your gut is imbalanced, if it's inflamed, if it's leaky, your body goes into stress mode. And when your body is in a stress mode, guess what? It shuts down all of that non-essential process like hair growth. Hair growth to your body is not essential for living. Things like your heart beating, like your lungs expanding and collapsing. These are essential processes that keep you alive, and hair growth is just not one of them. So when your body is in the stress state because your gut is so inflamed, you have an overgrowth of bad bacteria, your hair is not going to be prioritized. And that's why people, once they reach a certain age, all of their good genetics has worn off, or if they've really reached a certain age, they now start to notice that, like, wait, my hair is just not what it used to be. Despite everything I'm, buying topically, I'm putting all these things on my hair, but my hair is still not growing. What is it? Is it my hormones? It could be. But guess what? Your gut is also connected to your hormones. In fact, okay, if you think of it this way, if your body cannot absorb nutrients properly because of that very damaged gut lining, how is your body going to be able to generate new hair? Okay. Studies show that when you have poor gut health, it can lead to literal deficiencies. That means even if you're taking your multivitamins, guys, if you're taking your multivitamins, your body will not absorb those vitamins if your gut is in a total state of disrepair. This is why healing your gut, if you're on this healthy hair growth journey that goes beyond products, healing your gut is crucial to ensuring that your hair is truly thriving. Okay. And a lot of people have it's not really a medical term, because I don't think scientists haven't really caught up with what's actually being discovered right now, but there's a term called leaky gut. And what I'm saying here today, guys, I don't want you to just take my word for it. Everything that I'm saying is backed with science. Go ahead, take notes, and go and do some research, because leaky gut is something that a lot of us have, and we have absolutely no clue. And it's scary because this is something that has an impact in so many bodily functions, including hair. Okay. So as I said before, imagine your gut lining is like a sieve, and those tight mesh junctions are supposed to be tight because you want to make sure you're filtering out everything good and everything bad. But if those mesh junctions are really wide, that means things can go through your gut lining and cause systemic inflammation. And that can also mean systemic inflammation leading to scalp inflammation. And that looks like things like seborrheic dermatitis. Okay. And it can also just cause your hair follicles to be pushed into that telogen phase, which causes massive shedding. So what are the actual signs of an unhappy gut? Like, what are the signs that, my digestive system is just not working? If you're really bloated after meals, and I'm not talking like you've eaten like a plate full of beans, and beans naturally make you flatulent. I'm talking if you're just eating regular food and you're just bloated no matter what, that's a sign. If you have constipation, or if your stools are like you can't leave your house without taking Imodium, then that's also a sign. If you have breakouts actually around your mouth and chin, that's a sign of a really unhappy gut. If you have like a white coating on your tongue, that's a sign of Candida overgrowth and, of course, an unhappy gut. If you have certain food intolerances or sensitivities, that's also a sign of an unhappy gut. If you have things like sugar cravings, like I'm talking, you can't go a day without having some form of added sugar, then this is a sign of an unhappy gut. If you have things like eczema, psoriasis, even seborrheic dermatitis. And of course, if you also have unexplained hair loss, like I'm talking, you've been to the doctor, they've prescribed you some steroids or whatever it is they've prescribed you, and you're still experiencing hair loss, thinning edges, and just your scalp is just not doing what it used to do, then these symptoms, they're not just random, they're all interconnected. And I want to talk quickly actually about Candida, because I want to leave questions for my inner circle. If you don't know already, and if you're just joining, so we have the Inner Circle, which is what I like to call a 360-degree hair health and wellness club. We're offering holistic and science-backed solutions that actually care about your hair health, your hormones, and just your overall well-being. Like, this is not just hair care or applying topical products, it's healing from the inside out. And that's what we have birthed with the Inner Circle. So I'm going to put a link actually in YouTube. So these are monthly lives that I'm putting just here for today. But from today onwards, it's going to be purely on the inner circle. So as I was saying, Candida. If anyone has ever heard of Candida, then please let me know. And if you haven't, sorry, then you're gonna learn. Because Candida, okay, this is a yeast that naturally lives in our immune system. It can work with us, but when it overgrows, usually due to things like sugar, like if you have excess sugar, you're basically feeding yeast. Crazy. If you're using certain antibiotics, that can actually cause that Candida yeast to overgrow. And this yeast has so many effects on your body. It can weaken your immune system. Like, that's crazy. It can disrupt your hormones. It can literally cause triggers like seborrheic dermatitis. And I get questions about seborrheic dermatitis on a daily basis. And the thing is, most stylists will just come and they'll get a comb and they'll try to remove that from your scalp, and it looks aesthetically pleasing. But what you don't realize is if anything, you're just creating more space for that yeast to grow. If you're not looking at the root cause for that Candida, all that's going to happen is it's going to grow, and it's going to keep growing again. So you can scrape off all of that yeast on a monthly basis, on a daily basis if you want. But guess what? It's going to keep coming back. And with Candida, it's something that you literally need to starve. Candida loves sugar, and not just sugar in the form of sweets. I'm talking sugar in terms of eating plain white rice. Yeah. So if you want to do some kind of like Candida cleanse, these are all things that we're providing in the inner circle, and you can learn a bit more there. But yes, so Candida is one thing, but just in general, if your gut has an imbalance of good and bad bacteria. So if you think of your gut, this is something that's internal, right? And you've got a lining that helps you to filter out the food and the nutrients that you need. However, in your gut, there's actually trillions of bacteria that live there. And those bacteria, they can be good or they can be very bad. Like, bacteria can literally create antibiotics. Okay, so don't sleep on your gut microbiome, because it's such an important and integral part of your overall well-being. So when this bad bacteria take over, they suppress those good microbes that can actually help you overcome certain issues. Okay, it can even prevent you from absorbing certain nutrients. So if you forget everything in this life, just remember, heal your gut. It's not going to be easy, because when you have an overgrowth of bad bacteria, when you have an overgrowth of Candida, guess what? They somewhat control your brain, because they control your appetite. These bad bacteria, these overgrowth, the overgrowth of yeast, it literally changes your cravings. Like, some of us have been so addicted to sugar that we can't remember the last time we actually had one full day without any added sugar. And I mean, you're checking every packet of food you're eating, and you're checking, does it contain sugar? A lot of us can't even go a day without sugar. If anything, that's an addiction. But what can we actually do about it? Let me look at, so I want to ensure that you're well equipped, because obviously we understand that we need to heal our gut, right? But the ways in which we do that it's going to be through your diet. And everything I'm telling you guys, you're not going to hear this from your regular dermatologist. You're not going to hear this from your regular practitioner, because modern medicine is designed to just treat symptoms, not look at the underlying root cause of problems. Okay. So what I want you to do, if you're really trying to heal your gut, is to remove inflammatory triggers. Okay. Sugar. Sugar, not just in the form of like Haribos or whatever sweets. I'm talking refined carbohydrates. So any carb that has been refined, including rice. Okay. I know a lot of us Nigerians love rice. But for a season, you might need to just give that up, just so you can starve these bad bacteria, starve this Candida, and allow your good microbes to take over. You might even want to cut out dairy. Like, if your symptoms are really that bad, like if your edges have gone, you're going to want to cut out dairy, because dairy is very inflammatory. And consider doing some kind of Candida cleanse if your symptoms are also really strong. And My next point would actually be to just add gut healing foods. Okay, so this is things like bone broth, of course. You can also take fermented foods. So fermented foods are basically a way for you to get that good bacteria easily. Like it's almost like a cheap way of increasing the abundance of good bacteria in your gut. So you can get fermented foods like kimchi, kefir. If you can tolerate dairy, not everyone can tolerate it. Sauerkraut. What else is there? You can also even get fermented cod liver oil, like kombucha. These are all great ways to induce good bacteria. You can also, of course, eat your fiber, like your fiber-rich foods, because fiber feeds the good bacteria. Okay, and then we can supplement, but I don't want people to run to supplementation until they're at a point where they feel like they've unless your symptoms are really bad. I'm talking your edges have gone and you feel like there's no hope, then perhaps you can supplement. But I would always say start with the food first. And if you're not seeing much improvement, then go with the supplementation. So of course you can look for probiotics, but the reason I don't say jump for supplementation, because a few of these can be expensive, but probiotics, you can look at those. Look for ones that have about 10 to 30 billion CFU as a minimum. But you can also take L-glutamine. This actually is relatively inexpensive, but it's a key thing in repairing your gut lining. So if you're someone who has leaky gut, L-glutamine, L-glutamine, L-glutamine. And you want to make sure that you're upping your zinc and your biotin and iron, okay? Because if, for example, your body is not even absorbing, biotin and zinc and iron from your normal diet, and you're taking these supplements, you're going to have to overcompensate at least for a period of time whilst you're healing your gut. And my last point actually is to just reduce stress, because a lot of the times people don't realize that stress is a killer. Like, God forbid, we're not going to die in Jesus' name, but in all honesty, stress impacts more than you think. It impacts not just your gut. It literally affects almost every single organ of your body. When your body is in that stressful state, like you're constantly anxious and you're consciously like on the edge, your body goes into fight or flight mode. And that means your normal bodily functions, your body's only going to prioritize what is important. Okay. So reduce your stress, because that can also create a little bit of leaky gut. So for me, of course, I'm a believer and I'm always going to recommend to you, obviously, what works for me, but what is true. And at the end of the day, for example, I always use this analogy because if you have an iPhone, right? If you have any issues with your iPhone, where do you go? Unless you're on a budget, you're more than likely going to go to Apple. And you know that it's going to work because Apple created the iPhone. And in that same sense, if you're a believer or not, okay, God created us and He did not call us to be stressed. He created us to have life and life in abundance. So at the end of the day, to truly live a life that is free of stress, a life of peace, return back to Jesus. Make Him your Lord and Savior. But yeah. So I've spoken for about 20 minutes and I want to make sure that any questions, my ladies. So I'm talking to my girls in the inner circle. So if you have any questions, please let me know. So Sierra says, I never have. What do you mean by that? Sorry. And Amy says, I've heard of it, but I wasn't aware sugar fed yeast. Yes. So sugar, Candida's main dietary requirement is sugar. So that's why you'll see in a lot of Candida cleanses, you'll see a lot of bitters. Things like they say bitter to the mouth, sweet to the stomach. Sweet to the mouth, bitter to the stomach. Okay. Candida loves sugar. It literally feeds off sugar. And not only that, sugar just creates inflammation in general. Amy says, preach. And Sarah says, amen. Sarah says, I've never heard of Candida, sorry. Yeah. So you can do a bit of research. Like Candida, of course, it's a yeast. It naturally grows in your digestive tract. However, when that thing overgrows, it wreaks havoc. Okay. And a lot of people have seborrheic dermatitis and they have no clue that what they're eating is literally causing this yeast growing on their scalp. So please, I'm gonna have to do so I'm going through the 12-week hair loss courses where I'm basically want to tackle every single organ of the body and give you guys ways in which you can tackle every possible cause of hair loss through making sure you're covering all bases. And then if needs be, I can come back and revisit certain things. So we can go a bit more into Candida. We can go a bit more into gut health, whatever it is. This inner circle is literally for you guys. So I'm your fountain of knowledge. So abuse me, not too much. But yeah, this is what I really want you guys to learn about, because modern medicine, as much as it's a great thing to be able to, if someone breaks their leg, you can go to a doctor, great. But when it comes to just the day-to-day wellness, well-being point, I feel like modern medicine lacks the ability to really understand root cause. Because a lot of the times, what they really like to do is look into symptoms. They love to mask symptoms, but never actually address root cause. Amy says, I see kefir is anti-inflammatory, but it's dairy, so it's good or bad. So yeah, with kefir, it is a fermented food. However, it's still dairy. It's dairy that has been fermented. But if you're someone who has really extreme symptoms, I would personally say avoid it. But if you're not, and you're not lactose intolerant, you can tolerate dairy, then kefir is okay. So it's something that I would only advise if you are okay with dairy. Yeah. Sierra says, definitely will. Wow, does Candida show up or flare up even more during a woman's cycle? When it's my time of the month, I want to eat even more. The thing is with your cycle is ultimately your cycle is just, you have your cycle because of the changing of hormones, progesterone and estrogen is kind of going in waves. And with that, so for example, when you are the week before your cycle, that's when your body is kind of preparing to shed like the lining, right? So a lot of people actually find that they crave a lot of food, like especially sweet food, just before their cycle and then a bit during, because your body's in a state of like, oh, I need to make sure that I'm okay because I'm about to go through a process. So that's kind of like what triggers the sugar response. But then in general, sugar is addictive. So if you're in a state in your cycle where you're craving more foods because you need to make sure you're building your blood up so you can shed it, if you're already addicted to sugar, you're going to crave the sugar, if that makes sense, because sugar is a devil. Genuinely, I'm 30 now, and it has taken me, by the grace of our Lord Jesus, basically 30 years to really overcome sugar addiction. Sugar is a demon, and it's an addiction that is just as bad as cocaine. Sugar is a demon. So I'm going to take a few questions from YouTube and Instagram, but if you guys also have questions in the inner circle, I will also prioritize you. Noosa says intermittent fasting might help improve gut health. Yes, that's definitely a good point. So intermittent fasting is a way to reduce inflammation and also just get your body to a point where it can actually rest, because the process of digesting food takes a lot of energy. Like, especially if you ever notice you eat a heavy meal and then you're like, okay, I'm ready to sleep, because your body then has to process all of that food and put it into the correct order of nutrient or whatever. And that process takes energy. But when you're doing intermittent fasting or long-term fasting, and this is something I'm definitely going to cover more in depth in the inner circle, when you're doing your 1 to 3 days fasting, what you're going to unlock is autophagy. And autophagy is a game changer. Autophagy literally means self-eating. It basically means your body is healing itself. It's getting rid of all of the toxins, the debris, and that's what you unlock when you fast. Like when Jesus told us to fast and pray, it wasn't because of him. He wasn't trying to torment us. He literally understood that fasting not only heals your body, but your mind, your spirit. Fasting is chef's kiss. But I'm going to be covering a lot because there's so many things that go into fasting, especially if you're a woman. If you're a normal cycling woman, like if you have your regular menstrual cycle, or if you're post menopause, how you fast is very different. For example, if you are like the week before your period, it's not really advisable that you fast because at that point, your body is getting to a point where it needs to build itself up. You need to make sure you have enough blood to shed. You more than likely want to shed fast during or after your period. Yeah. Sierra says, haha, it is. LOL, I'm struggling with this. Oh my gosh, yes. Sugar is a demon. If you love sugar, please, do we need to do an accountability sugar cleanse in the inner circle? Do we need to do that? Because sugar, it had me on a chokehold. But I found what has really helped me is finding healthy replacements. So things that I love are things like date syrup. You can buy it yourself or you can make it where you pretty much just blend dates and it becomes a nice paste, which is sweet, but it's naturally sweet. It's like how my teeth feel when I eat a packet of sweets versus when I have dates is very different. How my body responds is very different. When you have natural sugars that are wrapped in fiber, your body processes it a lot different and it's less likely to be inflammatory. Josiane says, hey, Josiane, hopefully I'm saying that right. Says, yes, intermittent fasting is great. My edges are starting to grow back. Yes, intermittent fasting is great. I think I pretty much do it every single day, not even trying. I kind of got into it probably about over a year ago. My last meal is normally around 5 p.m. and then I don't really eat until 10 to 11 a.m. the next day, depending on what I'm doing. But intermittent fasting is a way of life, I'm telling you. Amy says yes. Sierra says yes. Sierra says, please, yes, I need accountability. I keep eating cookies. Okay. So we need to, I'm going to do this with you guys. I'm going to create like a little accountability challenge because we need to get rid of this sugar addiction because it is a true addiction. Because if you can't go a day without the sugar, then it's a sign of an addiction. And trust me, I'm someone who's a recovered sugar addict. And I'm someone who, when I was a child, I'm telling you, I would put so much sugar in my cereal, so much sugar in my tea that it would no longer dissolve. It would no longer dissolve. That's just how much sugar I would put in my cereal, in my tea. My parents didn't really watch what I was doing, so I got away with it all. And it took a long time for me to really overcome that. Amy says, I felt I was better at abstaining from sugar on the 75-day challenge. Now I'm flagging. Okay, we're going to have to do this. We're going to have to do this sugar accountability challenge because sugar will not get our edges. Sugar will not get our mental health. Sugar will not get our gut. Okay. Yes, like I used to eat so much sugar. Josiane. Okay, great. I'm saying that right. Yeah, Sierra. Like sugar is just, yeah. The thing is, like, God made it in such a way that our primary fuel source is glucose. So this is why sugar to us feels and it tastes so good. But this is what happens when manipulation happens, because I think the enemy or the people that make food products that you find in supermarkets, they load these foods with sugar because they know that that sugar is going to make us come back and buy it again and again and again. So it's almost like we've been slowly dosed with sugar over time. But until you realize that this sugar ingredient is not, like, we do not need to be like having any added sugar to our foods, maybe bar like dark chocolate. And I'm talking, if you're eating 85% dark chocolate, then that's the only really time you need sugar because dark chocolate is bitter. Even with that sugar, it's very bitter. So yeah, sugar is something that is so common in our society, and people will wonder why they have so many health challenges, and it's always linked to sugar because sugar affects so many processes in your body. It's just so inflammatory. And when you think of inflammation, gut, Inflammation is linked to hair loss. It's linked to eczema. It's linked to psoriasis. It's linked to seborrheic dermatitis. Like it feeds yeast. It feeds parasites. It feeds the bad bacteria in your gut that cause so many issues in your body. Like sugar is the devil. But yeah, Lord help us in Jesus' name. So yes. Charlene asks, Janet, what's your opinion about shaving hair since it's damaged before starting hair care? Honestly, that's up to you. I think shaving your hair, it sounds like a great idea. However, if you're going to shave your hair and you're going to still continue doing bad practices, then my love, shaving your hair is a complete waste of time. I would actually suggest that you look into your root causes, okay? So things like your liver health, your gut health, your hormones, your mental health, all of these things have an impact in your hair. And I'm talking if you've bought every product under the sun, if you tried every routine on YouTube, you've made every single natural hair remedy mask, rice water, you've slept on silk, you've tried everything, and you're still not seeing any progress, my darling, join the inner circle. We're not playing any games. We're not playing any games. We're leaving no stone unturned. We're getting to the root cause of hair loss. Yeah, Empress says, yeah, I'm craving so much sugar lately. Oh, Noosa says, I see a huge difference in my stomach area when I do intermittent fasting. I'm doing a 17-hour intermittent fast right now, and I'll have my green juice as my first one. I love that. What do you put in your green juice? Yeah, I am Heavenia, a citizen of heaven, says God made things good, but people alter it 100% through greed, lots of times to make it addictive, and the full effective things as well, 100%. Like as much as I talk about, the enemy, like I think the devil operates in so many different ways, not to glorify the devil, but just to give you guys a bit of wisdom. And a lot of the times, if we can't take control of certain things like eating habits, the devil could use that. It could be an open door for the devil to use if you're not careful. So that's why, like, as much as I am, of course, trying to eat healthy, like, if you're a Christian anyway, you're reading the word, you're getting close to God, you're getting rid of things that are toxic, right? In that same aspect, we should carry that over into our food, into what we watch, because all of these things are entryways into ourselves, including food. If sugar is an idol or an addiction, we need to conquer that in Jesus' name. Amy Stewart says, can inflammation cause itching? Yes, 1,000% yes. Okay. Because when you're getting itching, that's basically your body telling you something is wrong. And a lot of the times, especially with eczema, psoriasis, like that itching feeling is because underneath the surface, there is a cascade of events that have happened before the itching. So if you imagine this is your scalp or your skin or whatever it is at the top, you're feeling itching. But what you don't know is that all the way underneath, there's been so many things that have happened to cause that itching. And that's caused by inflammation. The easiest way for me to describe is inflammation, because inflammation is basically your immune response overreacting to a certain thing, or it could be toxins. But ultimately, inflammation most definitely causes itching. I'm someone who's dealt with a whole host of things like eczema, and I'm telling you now, there's like, as much as I love topical ingredients, the single most powerful thing when it comes to conquering inflammation is what you put at the end of your fork. You would be deceiving yourself if you come to aminonaturals.com, you buy Follicle Fuel Pro Plus, and you still continue to eat that sugar. It's literally like putting a plaster on an internal bleeding wound. Sierra says, can juicing help with gut cleanses? Like, which did you recommend? Yes. So it's so funny because I'm actually doing like a liver detox at the moment, and juicing can most definitely help with gut cleanses, because when you juice, you're pretty much getting just the nutrients of that fruit or vegetable, and you're condensing it into this liquid form. And this liquid form is something that doesn't need to be heavily broken down by your gut. So when I was talking about, the gut uses a lot of energy to break down food. But when you're drinking a juice, that juice has pretty much really been breaking down. So your gut is only having to absorb the nutrients. You're basically giving your gut a bit of a break when you're juicing. But I'm not talking about just your orange juice that you buy in the store. I'm talking when you make your own, like cold pressed juices. What I would recommend for gut cleansing is most definitely things like what I'm going to recommend to you is not things that are going to taste nice to your mouth, because as I said before, sweet to the mouth, bitter to the stomach. Bitter to the mouth, sweet to the stomach. So things like celery juice. When you're drinking celery juice, especially on an empty stomach, like 2 hours before you eat your food, you're basically increasing bile production. You're increasing your gastric acid. I don't want to go into too much of the science because I feel like not that it's boring, but how do I explain it? So it basically helps you to detox. It supports your liver. It feed the celery juice will feed the good healthy bacteria and allow them to repopulate and grow. So what I love is celery juice. So that's just, if you have a juicer, I've got one at home. I can try and link some. I don't know if you're in the UK, US, but I know there's a Nama 2 juicer, but that one's like $500. But I've got the NutriBullet one. I think that's about £100. But I abuse that juicer. Okay, it has saved me. But yeah, celery, cucumber. Also pineapple. That's a good way of adding a little bit of sweetness, but not overdoing it. Because it has bromelain, which is really good also for detoxification. I would also suggest parsley. Ooh, parsley. Yeah. So celery, cucumber, pineapple, parsley, turmeric. And I'm not talking the ground turmeric, the fresh turmeric that looks almost like ginger, but when you break it open, it's like red inside. Okay. So I don't want to talk too much about the juice because I'm actually going to talk about a liver detox for this Thursday deep dive. And I'm going to give you guys some recipes. But I have a gut cleanse recipe in the Candida cleanse one. I think that one is coconut milk, avocado. Like it's a lot more fatty and less sugary, because with Candida, you want to make sure that you're not consuming too much sugar, because again, sugar feeds Candida. But yes, I'm going to be covering some juices for Thursday. If you'd be so patient with me, that would be great. But yeah, juicing is chef's kiss, because with juicing, you're basically getting nutrient packed water ultimately. But be careful if you are juicing, please do organic. Do organic, because when you are juicing, you're basically concentrating down the nutrients, and if there's pesticides in that fruit or vegetable, you're going to be concentrating down those pesticides, which can be very dangerous. So I definitely suggest you find organic celery, organic cucumber. I forgot to mention lemon as well. Organic parsley, like especially if a fruit or vegetable doesn't have a thick skin, like a pineapple or a lemon, like those have more thick skin. So you can kind of get away with getting organic. But if you're getting like a cucumber, if you're getting like parsley, like these are fruits and vegetables that if that thing is sprayed with a pesticide, it's literally living on the leaf. So you want to make sure that you're juicing organic fruit and veg. Amy says, can natural sugar feed Candida too? I hate to say it, but it can. It can. But the thing is, I would suggest that you do sort of like a Candida cleanse and then reintroduce natural sugars. So I would suggest do a cleanse and then reintroduce natural sugars, because that's going to help you reset your taste buds and starve the Candida to a point where it won't go back as excessively, and then you can still enjoy your natural sugars. But yeah, Sierra says Ooh, good note. Okay, organic for sure. Yeah, organic. I know organic can be expensive, but at the end of the day, if you think about pesticides, herbicides, like these are chemicals that farmers spray into the air wearing hazmat suits because they understand that this thing is toxic. It's supposed to kill. So it's a shame that the way food is made nowadays isn't made with the concept of health. It's made with the concept of profit, profit, profit. So yeah, it's a shame. But yeah, try organic. I think there's a, what do they call it? I'm gonna try and send a link. There's like a list of 12 things that you should get organic no matter what. So those are things that have very thin skins, like strawberries and blueberries. But then there are others you can kind of get away with, like pineapples and lemons, things with thicker skins, because the pesticides can't enter as much. But yeah, um, yeah, because pesticides are just, yeah. Oh, I was going to mention something. Yeah, so these farmers, they spray these pesticides on these fruits and vegetables, and then they know that they're deadly, but they spray it anyway. And then we buy it in a shop. We think, oh, it looks great. But then if you're eating a whole bunch of pesticides and herbicides, then that puts a lot of load onto your liver. And the liver is something that we're going to be discussing this Thursday. Your liver is a powerhouse. And I'm just so excited for this inner circle because I've got so much information for you guys that you're going to be like, whoa, like, is this really happening? Because I feel like this space, in terms of black hair health, is a space that has been very polluted with just one stop. Here is your magical potion in a bottle. But with hair, it's so much deeper than that. And I've kind of learned the hard way, if I'm honest with you. But I'm really excited. But yeah, your liver is such an essential organ. It controls over 500 different processes in the body. This is how important your liver is. And if your liver is backed up, or it can't detox correctly, guess what? It's going to show in your body. When I think of hair growth, I think of hair growth, or hair loss, I should say, as a symptom. Whenever someone's experiencing hair loss, it is a symptom that something's happening inside. And if you don't tackle what's going on in the inside, you're going to be wasting your money buying topicals. Topicals are good, but they should only be used in addition to healing the inside. Because if you don't, and you're just constantly spending your rent money on topicals, all you're going to be doing is putting a plaster on a bleeding wound. Like, I'm talking a wound in terms of someone's legs being cut off. If you put a plaster or a band-aid on that, it's going to be absolutely useless. So let's do the repair. Let's do the healing. Let's do the healing. So yeah. Sierra says, this information is amazing. I'm very glad you find it helpful because like everything I'm telling you guys is everything I wish I knew even just like 5 years ago. Because when you go through childbirth, why does no one tell you that your body changes? So like, I understood that people may gain weight, or they might not bounce back, but what happens on a cellular level to your body when you give birth is crazy. And no one will tell you. They'll just, okay, go through it, lose your edges, break out in eczema and psoriasis, no problem. Like, no, we don't have to do that. Like, this is why knowledge is power. And I'm so just excited to be just sharing with you guys all the information that I have in this head of mine, because it's something, and this is why I put it in the inner circle, because I feel like when people like watch YouTube videos in any random order and they can't really piece the information together, all that does is create a lot of confusion. But if you have a platform where everything is succinct and clear, okay, these are the 10 places I need to tick off to make sure that my hair health, my skin health, my gut health, my overall health is correct, then this is simplified and it's in a form that I can digest and it makes sense. Whereas now the internet has just got so many things. Like, you could watch a video today and it can say red apples are good. You could watch a video tomorrow and they'll say red apples cause cancer. So then you're just like, what's going on? So this is why, for me, the inner circle is my little baby. It's an extension of Women Are Naturals, because as much as I love providing people topicals, I felt very restricted and restrained in terms of giving people the true help that they needed, because I get messages on a daily, like so many messages on a daily basis about my hair this, my hair that, I've got seborrheic dermatitis, my doctor said this, it's not working for me. And I feel like I need to give more. So this is my way to give more to our community, because it's so needed, especially in Black hair health spaces. Black women have been ignored. If you haven't noticed, like in terms of, look at just how synthetic hair is just now suddenly been discovered to cause cancer. Like, what? Synthetic hair that we put on like 1-year-olds, 2-year-olds, like how has it only been discovered that it's causing cancer? Huh? Absolutely no way. So yeah. Josiane says, so excited as well. This is part of my healing journey. You're a blessing, dear Janet. Thank you so much. Sarah said, right, thank you so much for sharing. Such a blessing. You're most welcome. Yeah, Amy says, postpartum is a lot. Siobhan says, yes, thank you for this platform. Sarah says, right, it's so much out there on the internet. It gets so confusing. Yeah, this is the thing. This is the thing. And I find that when people have an obligation to pay for something, they are then naturally committed. I want to work with people that are committed to actually seeing a change. Because at the end of the day, I can give you all the information in the world, but if you're not going to actionably do things, if your wallet is not reminding you that, okay, I need to put actions that Janet is talking about, then you're going to be like, oh, the information is great, what in one ear, out the other. But no, we are going to be accountable to each other. So, see, Amy, I love these questions, because this is what I love and hate about the internet. Because, as I said, you'll hear an apple does this and then a bell pepper does this. So, Amy says, I've heard that foods that I thought were good for hair health, like oats and bell peppers, are no good. Is this true? Oh, there's a thread, as in they cause inflammation. So, this is the thing. Inflammation is basically your immune system overreacting to said target. And how your body responds to oats can tell you if it's going to cause inflammation. For example, oats, there's no one single oat. You've got your still cut oats, you've got down to your like porridge, fully refined porridge cereal that you can pour water in and then it goes. How your body responds to the oats is very different depending on the type of oats you're eating. If you're eating the still cut oats, and I'm talking the oats that have been the least processed, then your body is going to respond to that better because it has more of the natural fiber. The natural fiber. And then the porridge oats, the ones that are the instant oats that you can just pour water in and it's cooked instantly, that has like very minimal fiber compared to the still cut oats. Therefore, because of that lack of fiber that God created it with to prevent sugar spikes, this instant oats can cause sugar spikes, insulin spikes, and therefore inflammation. So with oats, it depends on the type of oats, but with an added level of complexity in that how I respond to oats is very different to how you respond to oats, purely because we have different digestive systems. And this is why I need to do more work on this gut health, because how healthy your gut is will determine how you process those oats, for example. So if you're someone who has a very badly balanced gut, you've got more bad microbes, perhaps you've got a bit of leaky gut, no matter the type of oats, it can still cause inflammation, or you might even have sensitivities to it. So it truly depends on your gut. But I would say, to be safe, what you can do is opt for the still cut oats, like the least refined oats. And also, you can do like a process of elimination. If you find that whenever you eat oats, you're bloated, like this thing is just not digesting well, or when you eat oats, the rashes are there, my scalp is itchy, that is a sign that you need to ditch them. Because I could say, yeah, oats are great. However, Your gut microbiome is very unique to you. And I can't tell you how your body's going to digest those oats. It would be impossible for anyone to know. It really depends on you finding out if you're sensitive to it. If you're sensitive to it, get rid of it. Get rid of it. But bell peppers, no, they're really good. Very high in vitamin C. Vitamin C is an antioxidant. Very, very good for you. Bell peppers are definitely good. But with oats, I wanted to explain it because oats come in a variety of uh, different types. And then even with the still cut oats, you can still be reactive to it. So I would suggest take oats out of your diet. If you feel like you're improving in health, keep the oats away. If you try and reintroduce it and you feel like, oh, I'm getting a bit of a rash, just get rid of the oats. Sierra says, I follow this girl that overcame cancer, and she said that she doesn't drink water. And I'm like, what do you drink? I drink spring water, and I know hydration is a huge part of healthy hair growth, but overall health. Sonny was confused by that. Yeah, so water, okay, so there's different types of water. There's H2O and there's H3O. H3O is the structured water that lives in plants and vegetables. So when she's saying that she doesn't drink water, what she means is she's not drinking H2O, which is your typical water that you find in the tap. So with water, there are different types. You can get your regular tap water, which is filled with fluoride, filled with antibiotics. Like we should not be drinking tap water. It should be definitely not. But then you get your bottled, like filtered water that's come from like a spring or a lake, whatever it is. That water is, of course, a lot better because it's going to contain the natural like electrolytes like magnesium, potassium, etc. That water's okay. However, I would always suggest if you're going to drink like filtered water, add a little bit of Celtic sea salt because Celtic sea salt has the highest amount of mineral content. So sprinkle just like one little, I've got some, but it's all the way downstairs. One little grain of Celtic sea salt into your water as a minimum. And that's going to help increase the mineral content. But yeah, Amy said, what about filtered tap water? Yeah, so filtered tap water is good. But I would always suggest adding a little bit of Celtic sea salt. But I've lost my train of thought. The structured water. So what she's talking about is she's drinking the structured water from plants. So the structured water from plants and vegetables is very hydrating. I don't think getting rid of water altogether, I mean, of course you could do that. You can survive off drinking like juices from fruits and vegetables. However, that's very expensive. Unless you're living in a place where you can just grab every form of organic fruit and vegetables and you can juice all day long, and that's great. But for the large majority of us, drinking filtered water, adding Celtic sea salt, or if you can get a hold of Himalayan pink sea salt, like the real pink sea salt, which hasn't been just dyed pink, then that's great. So water is good. So long as it's spring or filtered tap water. Get yourself like a carbon filter, or they have like these reverse osmosis filters, which basically like they'll separate all the nasty stuff from it and then replenish it with good stuff. So yeah, filtered tap water is great. Just make sure you're adding a bit of Celtic sea salt, especially when you feel like the way in which I like to wake up is I would have water with just a few granules of Celtic sea salt. Because basically, when you're absorbing water, if you're someone who drinks water and you go straight to the toilet, that's a sign that your body's not actually absorbing the water. All that's happening is that it's just flushing through. The water is not actually entering the cell. The way in which water enters the cell is through electrolytes. And that's where the Celtic sea salt comes in. Those electrolytes basically point the water to go enter the cell, enter the cell, enter the cell. Just Josiane says, but the plastic bottles contain microplastics. I was in a spiritual retreat, sorry, and the leader said, pray over your water. Yes, the Celtic sea salt. Yeah. See, this is the world we live in, right? Microplastics are a thing. And the thing is, I always say microplastics aren't things that can be totally avoided because if that was the case, you would just be living in a plastic, sorry, in a wooden box, let's just say. So what you can do is limit it. So for example, I do not use like plastic water bottles. I'll use like a glass one. I try to avoid plastic as much as I feasibly can. But then at some point, you just have to let the Lord do his work. So definitely pray over any plastic and opt for BPA free plastic, guys. We should not be using plastic that is got BPA in it. Yeah. But yeah, definitely pray over your water, guys. Because again, these microplastics, guess what? They have to go through your liver to be detoxified from your body. And we don't want to overdo it. But yeah, BPA free. So I have got 4 minutes on the clock, guys. So please, if you do have any questions, then let me know. Please let me know on the Inner Circle. If you don't know already, I'll remind you guys again, I'm streaming live on Instagram, on YouTube, and also the Inner Circle. And the Inner Circle is my 360-degree holistic hair health and wellness club where we tackle hair growth from the root cause. So if you do want to join, definitely go over to aminonaturals.com and join the Inner Circle. Sarah says, thank you so much for your time. Girl, thank you for joining and just being a good participant, asking great questions. Like, I really love connecting with you guys. This is truly a blessing to me. Like, I love to help people. Like, I love to see people realize true health. And I think I would be doing a disservice to have all this knowledge and just to sit by myself and not share it. So if anything, I'm just listening to the voice of God. I'm like, okay, God, we got to do this because the people need the help. The people need the help. And this is all information that you're not going to get from modern medicine. You might find it on YouTube if you don't find 5 other conflicting videos. So Siobhan says, can blood work be done to detect the level of DHT? Yes, it can, because it's just a hormone. You can. But to find a doctor to do it, well, you might want to find, if your regular doctor can't do it, try and find a holistic doctor, because they would probably be more willing to order those bloods. But if you go to your doctor and just say, oh, I'm tired, I'm experiencing hair loss, they should do it, because they do know that DHT causes hair loss. Like, it's a known fact that DHT causes follicle miniaturization, which is basically follicle shrinking and therefore hair loss. So they should do it. If they don't be afraid to go elsewhere to get that blood work. Sierra says, of course, happy to be here. Join us, ladies. It's worth it. Yes. I'm going to have to find a way to do reviews so that people can be aware of how people are enjoying it as well. Josiane says, yes, thank you so much, beautiful soul. Thank you so much for joining. Okay, we have 2 more minutes. If you have any burning questions, let me know. But this week, we're all going to be talking about the liver. If you thought the gut was a powerhouse, the liver is going to shock you. Because if your liver is not working at proper capacity, it's going to show. Siobhan says, my hair is typically full, but one side of my front hairline seems lighter than the other. Yeah, with your hairline, if it's in like your crown, so like your temple area, that's a sign of DHT related hair loss, because DHT typically targets around here. You'll see in male or there isn't such a thing as male pattern hair loss, because men and women encounter pattern hair loss. So if you see male pattern hair loss, it's always typically here and here. And that's just a sign of high DHT. But guess what? Sugar fuels DHT. Amy says, is red light therapy good for hair loss? Yes, it is actually. It actually is. It actually is. I'm going to have to cover that. Perhaps so I'm trying to go through my 12-week hair loss series where I'm going to be tackling gut, liver, hormones, everything you can think of, kidneys, we're tackling it. And then we're going to go into more specific things that you guys want to hear from me. Okay. I'm also going to be doing menopause as well. So yes. Sierra says, so excited. And Siobhan says, yes, Crown. Yes, it is 9:30, guys, UK time. Thank you so, so much for joining. And I will be back here next month at the last Monday of every month, unless something's happening, I'm going to be live. So I'm going to schedule the next one for last Monday in May. So that's going to be the 26th of May, but I'm going to put it in the Grow Room live. Sierra says, Siobhan says, thank you, you're welcome. Sierra says, can we watch replays here? Yes, you can. Every single live that I'm going to be doing is going to be available in the Grow Room live replay. So as soon as this one is done, it's going to be available for you to see it. And Amy says, thank you so much. You're most welcome. Thank you. So yeah. If you want to learn more, guys, then join the inner circle. Join the inner circle. Join the inner circle. Because we're not just doing hair growth, we're doing hair healing. Okay? Healing. And this is a missing part in Black women's health. But no. Oh, someone says that's Memorial Day. Okay. So I think that's also a bank holiday in the UK as well. So I'll come back to you, but if not the Monday, then it could be the Thursday, but or maybe I'll do it on the 19th because May is actually a really long month, isn't it? It's literally 31 days. So maybe what we'll do is the third. So for May, we might do the third Monday. But you're going to see everything on the updates that you get. But no, thank you so much. If you do have any further questions, hit me up in the Grow Room chat lounge, guys. Interact in there, get to know each other. Like, this is a way for you guys to connect also. But yeah, thank you so much, guys. I've been Janet. You guys have been amazing. And I'll catch you on the next live. And I'll definitely be in contact as to when that is. But take care. Bye.